Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective, Tran. We are ready to start off our 2020 preview series. Are you excited?
Oh, I'm excited. College football kicked off yesterday. I can't wait.
I know. Nothing better than some good old sloppy FCS ball, man. So, we're back at it just to see guys balling again and just the spirit of things and fantasy drafts out there and it's tis the season as long as we have it, right? But
hmm
we saw some good high school games where some people were being uh, responsible in the stands, and some schools weren't. So, but it gets you in the spirit, right? As assuming things are going to continue moving forward, I couldn't be more thrilled to at least have the privilege to do this. We're at the point where we can really start our preview series and get into it. So depending on when you're viewing this video, we're around 13 days away
Yep.
from kickoff, Texas versus UTEP. And our first video of our 2020 preview will be our 5 breakout players for the 2020 Texas Longhorns. Now, we did this exercise last year for the 2019 season. It was something that we had a lot of fun doing. And we actually went back and pulled our list from last year. And I want to go through the list real quick from last year and the 5 players we selected before we get into this. So, Tran, we had at number 5, we had Jordan Whittington. At number 4, we
hmm
had Joseph Ossai. At number 3, we had Keondre Coburn. At number 2, we had BJ Foster. And at number 1, we had Devin Duvernay. So when you hear that list a year later, what are your what sticks out to you? What we got right, what we got wrong?
So we got a 2.5, 2.5, right? No, Devin Duvernay obviously was a home run hit right there. We had Joseph Ossai way too low, turns out. And, I think we were right with Keondre Coburn. He did what we knew he was going to do. I think he's going to pick it up a little bit more in this offense, but I mean, in this defense. But, the other two, I mean, who's to say we were wrong if there was an injury? You know, both of them. Whittington's season got cut completely short after the first game. We saw a little bit of him, but nothing more.
Yeah.
Um,
And then
then
BJ got
then
really
BJ
banged
just
up.
got. I mean, there was one where he looked like Weekend at Bernie's out there. They were just put him out there, and I mean, hats off to him for trying to tough it out. But I mean, you could tell he was hurt often last season. So, I mean, it's you can't really determine what happens with injuries, but we think that they're great players too, and we think that they're going to have bounce back seasons this year.
Indeed. And I think with Devin, it was unique because he was a senior and
hmm
we picked a senior. And I remember stating that at the time, but with what he was stepping into replacing little Jordan Humphrey, and we just, and that's some of those similarities are going to play into how we determined this list. So I've always told you guys, when we make lists on this channel of any sort or any type of countdown, I do want to set criteria. I think that's important in terms of understanding how we got here. So we look at upside. We look at, if you haven't played before or haven't played a significant role, but you're stepping in or filling in a role, or you're now a new starter or some sort. And we also look at just overall what your potential impact is on the team from a win-loss perspective. Even if you're somebody who is coming off the bench, but you have the ability to overtake another player, and that was one of the reasons why we had Jordan Whittington on our list, right? Even though we knew Keontae Ingram was our starting running back, and no one knew what Roschon Johnson was at that point, but we looked at the potential aspect there. So don't want to waste any time. Let's jump into our 2020 top 5 breakout players for the Texas Longhorns. Number 5, we have Alfred Collins, defensive
This,
tackle.
this, by the way, was your favorite recruit this year.
It was, man. One of the things I love about him, and you've been hearing it in terms of camp and whatnot, is just his sheer size and presence. And when you have that combined with the athleticism that he possesses, I think it's just a matter of time. Right now, he is not currently listed. I think they have Taquan Graham playing that 3 technique next to Keondre Coburn. Now we are running a 4-man front. We'll have a lot more of a rotation there. We'll be able to kind of pair up big boys and have a lot of fun, really. Vernon Broughton, you could easily throw him into the mix there. But one of the things I find unique with Alfred Collins and why he was able to get his 5th star is his elite length, just the disruptive ability, and he is going to be a very difficult player to block, especially as he learns, the fundamental things and some of the more technical sides of the game. But you saw Tom Herman recruit a guy in Ed Oliver at University of Houston, and Ed Oliver was a home run day one, program changing type player for them. But Alfred Collins is not far off from a talent perspective and what he can bring to the football field. And I've been saying this because I'm a special teams advocate here on this channel. What he can potentially give us from blocking field goals and things of that sort, batting down passes at the line of scrimmage when he's in the game. I just feel as though it may not be early in the season. Now, when I say early, we only have 10 games, but I could see somewhere in conference split, because right now, no disrespect to Taquan Graham or Jomo, right? The thing with Collins, he's already 300 pounds. He can play inside or out, depending on the situation. Now, on that outside, you have a Jomo and Jacoby Jones. And Jacoby Jones is, another guy who, with his pass rushing ability and the scheme kind of benefiting him more, could move over. I do think that Alfred Collins, though, it's more of he's special. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, he's a freak athlete. You and I were talking about this. We want to get back to letting our freaks be the freak athletes that they are. And I mean, you named him with his length and his athleticism. He played basketball. He's owns the line of scrimmage, and in high school that is. One thing that we're not really touching on is that we could use this as a crapshoot year for him. No matter what, we can play him all games, every games, and it doesn't burn his red shirt. So we could deal with the little bumps and bruises that come with a freshman playing, but we will also see flashes of that athleticism owning the line once he starts getting used to the speed and the size of big time football.
Yeah, I think as he ramps, he's going to give Taquan Graham a run for his money at that 3-tech spot. I mean, I think it's, especially with him being a senior. And no disrespect, Taquan Graham's going to be in a better position being in the seat. All those guys are, and the buzz is already there in the fan base and the camp, all that. But again, let your freaks be freaks, like you said.
Yeah, man, and that's one thing that we've been missing on, especially from the edge. I know you think he might slip over into the inside, but I still see him being an edge rusher, and I'd love to see someone like a Javon Curse at Texas.
Yeah, I mean, they have the thing is they now have that versatility, and it also speaks to recruiting. In our list, this one thing I will say: this list that we have, all 5 of these players speak to the uptick in recruiting that we've seen over the last
efforts. Yeah,
correct, over the last 2 to 3 years. So this is good work by the staff. He was one of the later players to close our class, but number 5 player, Alfred Collins. Now, number 4, we may look back at this and say, like we just did with Joseph Ossal in 2019 with our number 4 player, and say we did him too low. But Tran, we have him here because, well, Tran knows this, but our audience,
yeah,
we have him here because we're being conservative.
Yeah.
But this guy has, at some point in training, you said it before, the future face of the program, Bijan Robinson. We have him at number 4, our running back, true freshman.
Yeah, and the reason why we're also putting him at number 4 is we did the same thing with Jordan Whittington last year. We recruited these guys to play early. I mean, they're 5-star athletes for a reason. They need to see the field, especially with the redshirt rules, the 4 games this year. We know he's going to play. We've seen
Yes.
it. We've seen he's already seems to be a complete back where he can block, he can catch out of the backfield, and he can even catch vertically upfield. Along with, of course, running the ball, because at one point last year he was averaging 20-something plus yards a game. And I think he ended off at 16 yards
per carry.
measly 16 yards per carry. Yeah. So, he's going to play. Obviously, there's weird issues we think with Ingram right now with his injury situation. So he's number 2 right now on the depth chart, right behind Roschon. So he's gonna get those carries. He's a 5-star for a reason. We're trying to get more 5-stars to come along. So of course he's going to be featured as much as possible.
That's a huge point. This is also a recruiting chip. Excuse me. First and foremost, you're trying to win football games. And you want to put the best people out there to win the games, because your biggest recruiting chip is if you're winning, period.
Yep.
However, with that being said, one of the frustrations within our program the last however many years is we fiddle around with younger guys who have been highly lauded, and it's like, why is so-and-so coming along so slowly? There's still guys on our roster on offense and defense where we're asking those questions. That can't be the case with Bijan Robinson. The national publicity, the way his body looks, and that's why Alfred Collins and him, where I draw the similarity in terms of correlation to their position. They are physically already there.
They look ready. Yes, they already look ready.
They already look like they've been in college 3-4 years, like future NFL players, right? So when you look at a guy like a Bijan Robinson, that's your wow factor. That's your, oh my God, power or speed, or, this guy can take the top off the defense. This guy can high point the football down the field, which is a very unique skill for a running back. Everything you want from a size perspective. There's, if you're looking to mold a running back coming in, those of you who used to play NCAA football, or you would create a recruit or look to like
cheaters,
right? This is the dude that you would look for, right? Right. That's the dude you create. Now, why we have him 4? Again, I know people are going to say, "Yo, Bijan should be number 1 or it's too low." We have a guy coming back in Keondre Ingram who averaged 6 yards a carry last year, ran for over 800 yards and had the most touchdowns on the team, and was very, very productive, especially in the Alamo Bowl when healthy. Now, right now, he's not really healthy. Yep. I don't even know if he's going to play in the UTEP game. We'll see. It may be one of the things where the staff holds him out. But Tom Herman, who did speak today a little bit, did mention, hey, with the 3 running backs we have, because Roschon Johnson will get, they are saying he's having the best camp, and he hurt Deli, and Deli I think is out for the UTEP game now in a pass blocking drill, and Roschon's also the people's champion as I call him on this channel, and I'm not surprised with how much he's ramped because of how his brain works at mastering the details at the running back position. So I'm excited to see his growth from year 1 to year 2. Year 2 being the second year he's even playing running back. But with Bijan, all those exciting things we're saying about Keondre Ingram and Bijan Robinson, and they got to share the wealth. And we're playing, yes, we're playing in a Mike Yurcich offense where there's up-tempo, more plays we're trying to run. But I have a conservative because he's still having to split time with 2 other very talented backs, a quarterback that's going to take in some carries too. I don't think they're just going to completely wipe out Sam Ehlinger's rushing attempts or what he does with the football. So it's a lot to factor in from how much, how soon with Bijan Robinson.
So the thing I like about that is that it's a good problem to have that there's three-headed monster back there right now.
Mm-hmm. And that doesn't even include the Watson kid that we just got as a transfer, right? Like
the grad transfer, yeah. But I mean, the guys who are going to get the lion's share of the carries are going to be those 3 guys. It's great to have that. I remember when we had Jonathan Gray and Malcolm Brown, and I thought that was great that we had those.
Don't even forget my man Joe Bergeron too.
Yeah, Joe Bergeron.
Yeah.
And Okay. Yeah,
They
Joe
had
Bergeron.
3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They had a third, and the thing is, our team right now, it's a similar skill set from all 3 of the running backs. They got different builds and body, but they have a similar skill set.
I agree with you. They're all
And
good.
it's
They're all
not going to
good
be a
between the
drop off.
tackles. I agree.
Yes.
They all
So
can catch the ball in the backfield. They all can pass block. Like, they're not fumblers, right? Well, Bijan, we haven't seen. I can't.
Yeah,
I can't.
yeah.
I
You
can't
can't
say
talk
that.
about him.
I can't
But
talk about that but we know Roshan and Keondre, and that's, give credit to Stan Drayton there, and how he's been able to coach those guys up and keep them consistent game to game when they were getting their touches like they were supposed to, because Tim Beck and Tom would fall asleep at the wheel and forget about them, but they didn't fumble the football.
Yep.
So that's another thing, right? Protecting the rock, and I haven't seen how you can address that with Bijan, because we haven't seen him against this level of competition. That's to be seen, but everything else that you can measure, he has it in spades. So
yeah,
I think we're good there.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's go on to number 3. So our next 3 guys are our starters as of the what we look at the depth chart, who's running out with the ones right now, and it's going to be very, very interesting how we look at this. But our number 3 guy is actually somebody who is a personal favorite of mine and somebody who I've been promoting on this channel for a while, and I think it's forgotten about in some conversations. But that's going to be Joshua Moore, who is going to be playing the Z receiver in our offense this year, and is currently running with the ones. Joshua Moore, wide receiver, redshirt sophomore, who is making his return. He was suspended all of last season, dealing with some legal issues. He's cleared now and has picked up where he's left off from what he did in scout team last year and the buzz that was around following the shoulder injury. But Trent, why do we have him so high on this list?
I think it's just the what you just said is that the fact that everyone is talking about him. No one really remembers him, like the national pundits, that is, don't really remember him. But you got to think, 2 years ago, I remember he was catching passes over the middle when Sam was not as accurate as he is now, and he was making spectacular catches.
Yeah,
Then
the USC catch.
Yeah. Then he gets into a little trouble, and then the injury happens. He's still practicing those 2 years. He's still gaining that rapport with Sam. It's not like he's just been sitting out for 2 years. He's stayed in shape. That's the only thing that I have a knock against him is his weight. I think he needs to be a little bit heavier, but I think he has something to prove. I think he's focused. I really do, and I know I really do think that his leadership skills, and I hope he preaches this to the team that, hey, anything can get taken away from you. I hope he steps up as a leader. People will listen to a teammate as opposed to just someone just preaching something to him. And I'm hoping that he's one of the guys who actually just step up and just dominate this year. There's going to be a lot of balls being thrown his way and other receivers' way. Why not him? Why not him? He's in that spot where Sam is comfortable with dumping the ball off to and just making sure we move the sticks. So that's why we think he's going to be great.
He is one of the more unique guys we've had playing an outside receiver role a little bit, because we've been using kind of more the big bodies, right? Like we had Malcolm Epps out there, we had Colin Johnson, and even the ways we would use John Burt. It was either you would take the top off or you're a big guy, but a lot of them were like comeback route centric. And I think you have somebody right here, especially playing the Z, where his route running ability and some of the technical aspects as a wide receiver, it's going to remind you what you see with a lot of guys in the NFL. And with Josh Moore in particular, I've been making this comp for a while. He does remind me a lot of D.D. Westbrook in terms of how just body type, how he moves, how he catches the ball clean with his hands. And he's a ridiculous athlete from a vertical point, which speaks to your explosiveness, right? So when he tested, when he came out of high school, he had elite testing numbers. And then you saw some of the verticality with the catches he was making in the very, very little time. And this is the other thing, too. When we played Maryland, I'm sorry I brought that up, but we played Maryland, he was in the game in the fourth quarter as a true freshman, rotating with Devin Duvernay. And at the time, it was pissing me off because that's when we were doing the musical chairs with all the wide receivers. But I also thought to myself, I'm like, this staff is having him out there over a lot of other guys for a reason as a true freshman then, right? So now fast forward 2 years, all the stuff that's gone on. And like, for people that are in the know to keep saying, dude, if you go to practice, you would think Josh Moore is the best wide receiver on this team. From different people. So this is, but you know what? We're talking breakout players, and we have to be bold. You could also consider this bold predictions to some degree. I think some of the other guys we mentioned, many people will agree with us. But when it comes to Joshua Moore, I just think with the natural ability to catch the football, his technician, what we'll see from I think we'll see a different type of receiver that we haven't seen at Texas in a little while, playing that outside position. We've seen the technician inside. Saw with Devin, we saw LJ, I get it. But Joshua Moore is a different type of dude where you're going to be like, yo, how's he 15 yards away from the DB? Like, how'd he get there? And it's not just like Marquise Goodwin, a 4-2 thing, right? Like, it's, the Jerry Jeudy-ish type or the Calvin Ridley type of just the technical aspects in and out of their breaks and really creating real separation. Joshua Moore, quarterback-friendly wide receiver. So I am very, very high on him. And when we were having some of our earlier lives early in the offseason, a lot of people were bringing up other names, and I kept saying, when they break out an 11 personnel and they got them 3 out there, Joshua Moore going to be one of them. That's all I'm saying. And so far, I think it's playing to that effect here. Let's move on to our number 2 player. We're going to go back to defense, Tran, your wheelhouse. And a guy who,
and this, by the way, was my favorite recruit 2 years ago, by the way.
Ooh, this is fun. Okay. So Chris Adimora out of California. He is now a sophomore. He is going to be playing the Spur, what we call the Spur position, really just a nickel, right?
Yeah.
And a guy who we recruited as a safety. He ends up playing in an emergency situation in the Oklahoma State game, really catches a lot of people's attention, and then played at that position a lot in the Utah game, in the bowl game. We see him again, right? And he's popping up here and there, but in terms of how he's being used, I'll start with you, Tran. Why, not just I think a lot of people understand why we have him number 2, but why was he your favorite recruit 2 years ago, and what are you seeing from him now that's validating your belief?
So honestly, I didn't know him before we got him recruited on the team.
Mm-hmm. He's out of state guy. That's fair.
He's a California guy. So when I saw that, of course I'm going to look into him. I don't think he had that many offers, but one of them was from Alabama, and Alabama's people comped him to HaHa Clinton Dix, which I think it's pretty high praise, and I think it could be fair praise too, because HaHa
guy that was a first round pick.
So and then I started watching videos of him, and I saw him going through actual cornerback drills. His coverage skills were great. He did struggle a little bit against guarding tight ends, just because of their sheer size. I'm pretty sure he's not going to be doing that in the nickel position that much. So he's going to he had quick hips, quick feet, flipped his hips really fast, and he played physically throughout the whole play. That's why I liked him the most. Fast forward to his freshman year. I think his first action, I forgot which game it was, but there was a sure-handed touchdown that he broke up in the end zone. Do you remember which game this was?
Yeah, sure-handed. Well, he broke up one for sure in Utah game down the field.
Was it Utah?
In the Alamo Bowl.
Okay. No, but I
Yeah.
thought there was one in the back end zone that he broke up too. And I was just like, okay, it looked like he was burnt, but he had that makeup speed, and also his length as well. I think he's what 6'3", 6'2", 6'3", something like that.
Like 6'1", but he's long. He's got the
Yeah,
long length.
yeah, but it's just I like it, and it's very high praise for a sophomore to come in and beat out a guy who hasn't played bad for us at the nickel position before. So I know he has questionable issues with some of the coaching staff and everything like that, but he still beat him out. It didn't matter.
So it's interesting. This is also a byproduct of us changing the defense, right? So because Anthony Cook was a corner and was just an outright outside corner for us, and Chris Adimora kind of was a safety, and I think we were looking at him as like more of a free safety type of player, and then we move him down to nickel. That's when we just started playing everybody at nickel. Like Brandon Jones, you want to play nickel. Josh Thompson played nickel. Caden Stearns played nickel. Like it was whoever was available at the time. We had to walk him down, right? And so Chris Adimora, what's interesting with him is what stuck out to me so much in that Oklahoma State game when he played was how smooth he was. And it just seemed like his football IQ and his instincts were on point, especially for somebody who was a freshman.
Yeah,
and
watch him go through his drills. That's what I was talking about. Is just how quick his feet is, and his hips and everything. Yeah,
I totally agree with the hips, man. Like being able to turn laterally, right? Because Josh Thompson's one of the fastest people on the team, but I've always thought with the lateral stuff, he could get turned around a little bit. And I didn't. But with Chris Adimora, it just seemed a lot more natural. And you saw that on full display in the Utah game. That was one of the best PBUs we had all season from anybody. So when I'm also factoring in the run game stuff, he's bulked up now. He's added probably the most weight, on the team from one year to the next. He's added almost 30 pounds of muscle. He looks fantastic. You saw him, with the few clips we've seen released, Jordan Whittington making a play on him downfield in coverage and ripping through. And he's very, very good at attacking the hands of the wide receiver when they're pursuing the ball. He's not a guy who's just going to go and jump and leap for picks. And this is based upon the little we've seen. We haven't seen – there's not a massive sample size of Chris Adimora. It's what we're projecting, and it's based upon what that small sample size, how well he played, right? And instincts matter, because even when we had the special teams thing, when we had to recover the onside kick, and just how heady he is making his way in those situations, I think those things carry over to the defense. I'm not surprised that the new coaching staff coming in has been not only high on him, but he's getting some of the highest reviews, the highest regards coming out of camp. So it got to a point where people really kind of expected Chris Adimora to assume, especially what they're looking for from that position. Because no disrespect to Anthony Cook, and I still think Anthony Cook will serve a role, especially in the world of COVID, where Tom Herman's already saying everybody gonna have to play anyway. Because at some point, something's gonna happen to somebody, and somebody's not gonna be available. Just gonna pop up one week, and all right, so and so tested positive, he can't play. So we gotta be ready regardless. But playing that nickel position, you are a big factor in the run game, because there's going to be a lot of situations where you're essentially almost a third linebacker too, right? You might have to guard a Dylan Stoner or somebody in the slot, but in the next play, I need you're the force in the run fit, right? And so having that particular level of versatility, I want my guy to be high IQ. I don't want to have people who take bad angles. We've had nickels in the past who either were really good in the run with the run stuff, like a PJ Locke was really good with the run stuff, but then we have people who couldn't cover. Like you gotta have to be able to do both. It's one of the most difficult positions, especially playing Big 12 football. It's a very, very difficult position. So having somebody on your defense from a Chris Adimora standpoint, like this is also, and we talked about this before, this also plays into what needs to happen for us season to be successful. Chris Adimora has to be as good as we're
hoping.
Yes,
we're
he has to. Any lasting thoughts there, Mr. Tran? I'm really high on this kid, man, and I
I am
think he
too.
can do some great things for our defense.
Yeah, I definitely, I would like to see his improvement on physicality. Like you said, if he has to play the run, I want to see that.
He'll have to play. He'll have to play the run. That's a requirement.
I've seen the dog and Cook, so I know what we have back there for run stop right there. But I think coverage wise, he could be, within the next year or two, could be our best coverage guy.
The other thing too, I forgot to mention, and this is what I'm curious to see with Chris Ash, because one of the requirements to play with Todd Orlando, you got to be able to blitz from Mexico, right? Like you got to be able to fly all over. And Chris Ash is, they're gonna let guys kind of, it's not gonna be all this exoticness as much, but letting guys kind of play forward. You're still gonna have to have your heaters though, right? Every coach needs to have some heaters in the pocket. This was my issue with Rob Marinelli and the Dallas Cowboys, where he just would not use any heaters ever and just sit in cover 3 shell the whole game. So, or cover 2 before they got the fraud known as Chris Richard. I'm sorry, let me get off my Cowboys rant. But going back to Chris Ash, you got to have some heaters in there to mix things up. And from what we saw at Ohio State, they did, right? Like he wasn't blitz heavy, but it's also, you got to, especially when you're playing different types of quarterback, throw people off their rhythm, things like that. Blitzing from the nickel, that is a skill in itself. Even guys, when we brought our safety blitzes, one guy we talked about has nothing to do with the top 5, but Chris Brown was really good at that, right? Of bringing that edge heat. Chris Adimora, like you have to be a 3-tooled, be able to cover, be able to stop the run, and be able to blitz. That is a requirement for that position. Anthony Cook is a good blitzer, low key, right? And we saw him have some success there. So we want to see that from Chris Adimora. We think he is more than equipped, especially up here, to have a lot of success. Let's go to our number 1 player, Mr. John Nathan Tran. I don't know why I said your name like that. That was weird and awkward.
It's all right. Sorry.
Who's the number 1 player?
Jake Smith. I mean, we think that. I mean,
wide receiver,
honestly,
sophomore.
Honestly, all the videos I've been seeing are from a wide receiver perspective. It seems like it's been him. One thing you called out is he's starting to look like a football player. please go into depth on what you were talking about. Okay. Go into depth because you explained it so perfectly to me on the phone where I just laughed and but I saw it. I visualized it mentally.
So we were talking about it on the hike, and this is just a personal thing of mine, right? I'm a big Deion Sanders fan. A lot of y'all saw he signed with Barstool and is going to have a more creative platform. But one of the things that Deion always says, like, look good, play good, play good, eat good, eat good, die good, blah blah blah, right? And you got to look the part. And I've always been and this has gone back to high school with me personally when I play high school ball. And I don't know if it was some older guys when I was young and they were like, bro, your pads look sloppy. You're going to look sloppy on the field. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like your joints are oversized or, you don't got a good, that was a big thing why I had with like Zeke the last few years. Like, I'm so happy that Zeke has gone back to his traditional face mask, the 3-bar monster versus whatever he looked like a damn linebacker. And I'm like, you're running like it, right? When you got the monster joint on with the extra crossbars, it's like, all right, well, that's not the guy stepping off for 70-yard runs. How does that relate to Jake Smith? He was rocking number 16. B, I didn't like the way his pads looked on him, on his body last year. He didn't look like the guy who I saw on tape from Arizona. Now, he wasn't bad, okay? His confidence got shook. In my opinion, his confidence got shook after the punt return fiasco and us going down. And I think it affected him on offense because you look at him in the LSU game, he was making plays, right? And he had 6 touchdowns last year. So he was productive as a backup to Devin Duvernay, which also shows you the level, at that H position that we have at the slot, like how heavy we were there, right? And I think that'll vary a little bit. But when we saw Jake Smith, it reminded me of the Jerry Jeudy video when he broke dude off and turned him around in practice at Alabama. And it was a great clip, right? And he comes out his break, turns the dude around, catches the football. But what I notice is he's got a fantastic visor now. He's rocking number 7. He got the wall. He had the towel hanging out. I'm like, oh, now he looks like he's gonna step off on somebody. Like you gotta look that's one thing I've always said. Like when I looked at Vince Young looked good in his pads. He didn't look like he was, the sleeves hanging out of here. Bruh had the wristband. He looked like he was about to sling some. You gotta look the part. So with Jake Smith, I think he's looking like he is ready to be the number 1 wide receiver. Now, why do we have him number 1? Because in this offense, whether it's the old Tom Herman offense or Mike Yurcich or whatever,
doesn't matter.
We've all said Sam Ehlinger has to have a monster year. Well, he needs somebody to throw to. He needs a number 1 guy. And I think with Jake Smith going through the fire that he went through last year, that was all preparation for this moment. And he didn't know what he was doing last year. And now you can kind of tell he knows. Not only does he know what he's doing, but when you know what you're doing in conjunction with having elite speed and change of direction ability, now you become a special player like we saw last year with Devin Duvernay. So,
well, yeah, and also
Jake Smith.
He also has the trust from Ehlinger. I mean, him and Josh Moore have trust from Ehlinger. So, he's going to be the guy who eyes him down. Like you said, he had 6 touchdowns last year as a true freshman. One of the other things that we've noticed too is that he's filling out his pads better. He just looks better. He's playing with more confidence so far. It's his position now. He's not behind Devin Duvernay. It's his. And
he's got the perfect kid behind him to push. Because he can't have a bad practice when you have Jordan Whittington right behind you. You can't.
You have 2 5-stars, by the way, at that position.
Again, uptick in recruiting, right?
Yeah.
But if Jake Smith starts to, where he has the confidence thing again, or he's, not sure about a route, bro, number 4 is coming in right behind you.
He's right behind you. Yep.
Right behind you, right? So, and I think there's going to be scenarios where we have 10 personnel where they're both on the field together. Mm-hmm. I'm just excited for the creative things that this staff is going to do. Because Jordan Whittington's going to eat himself. But
yes,
when it comes to Jake Smith in terms of it's 3rd and 8, where's the football going to go? Do I think it's going to get to the point with Devin where people are double teaming him? I don't think so
I don't think so.
I think we'll be better on Josh Moore, and whether it's Tariq Black or Brennan Eagles on the other side, whoever wins that battle. But I think you just have more – the offense will be a little bit more balanced on both sides of the field than it was. Because when we lost Colin, people really were able to overload on Devin Duvernay. And they were like, yo, you need to beat me with these other dudes on the outside. I don't think that's going to be the case now. And I also look at, the fact that we're actually going to be using our tight ends again. At least that's my hope. And from what I'm hearing, both Malcolm Epps and Kay Brewer have been catching touchdowns in the scrimmages and catching seam routes. That only gives Jake Smith more space. Right?
Yep.
So, but at the end of the day, you still need that 1. And so, do I think anybody on the team – I think Jake Smith could go double-digit touchdowns is the way I'm looking at it.
He had 6 touchdowns last year. Yeah.
So I agree. I think he could potentially double that, right? And I'm looking at this also like from a statistics standpoint, stats are going to be screwed up because we're only playing 10 games, right? So if you're projecting – if any receiver has 1,000, I think he could have 800+ yards.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where we projected Devin last year. We were actually way under because we just weren't used to wide receivers on our team like having great stats. But I can see Devin or Jake Smith having around 800 yards and having 10+ touchdowns in a 10-game season.
I agree. And I mean,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I just feel I just feel he's just more comfortable and more confident. I mean, confidence plays huge key, especially in high school and in college. You know, if you're not playing confident, you're not going to produce, honestly.
No.
And we saw that with him specifically. I mean, easy drop passes that he would normally make.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last year, and I don't anticipate that happening this year, because it is his job to lose, and he hasn't done anything to lose it, especially with the word around the actual practices and everything like that, is that he's showing out. So,
and that's why we spoke to the recruiting aspect. These guys were big recruits. Jake Smith was a National Gatorade Player of the Year coming out of Arizona. Chris Adimora was highly regarded 4-star coming out of California. And I mean, just to recap the whole list, right? Because we're at the conclusion of this video in the first part of our 2020 preview series. But number 5, we had Alfred Collins, true freshman. Number 4, we have Bijan Robinson, true freshman. Number 3, we have Joshua Moore, who is a redshirt sophomore. Number 2, Chris Adimora, sophomore. And number 1, our number 1 breakout player for 2020, we believe, will be Jake Smith, playing wide receiver, sophomore, as the primary beneficiary of Sam Ehlinger. But we're going to be spreading that ball around. That's the only reason why I'm saying 1,000 yards is going to be hard to get to this year for anybody, because you got to average 100 yards a game. So it's going to be fun. Tran, first of many videos we're about to break out here. I appreciate you, brother. Guys, what I want y'all to do in the comments, first, you got to hit that like button.
mm-hmm.
And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Help us grow the platform. Share it with your friends, message boards, groups. We appreciate everybody that, promotes us. But the next thing I want you to do is comment, hit us with who your 5 breakout players are, right? Who's going to help this team? Guys we haven't seen before. It can't be somebody that played a whole bunch. All these guys are either backups or newcomers to the team. So, and we would be remiss. We had this 5 was tough to get to, Tran.
Yeah, we spent an hour before this call talking about it. So I mean, we still have some that didn't make the list, but we still think we'll have a kind of a breakout season possibly. So
yeah, like I mean, and it was just a function of how these guys are going to be used. I mean, you're I know your guy was Moro Ojomo. You fought for him to be on the list. I was right there with Kenyatta Watson, who you can make an argument could be in that 5th spot, right? And you texted me like, hey, we got to consider Kenyatta Watson as a breakout candidate.
Yeah.
Kobe Jones, Malcolm Epps, guys we've been hearing having great camps. So those are kind of the honorable mentions we had there. But I feel good about the 5 that we ultimately got this down to. But like I said, hit us in the comments with your 5. We appreciate y'all. Horns always up.